Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast, where we discuss the latest conversations about civil rights and justice reform here in the city of Chicago. I'm Alex with the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, and we're the city's civil rights agency. What we do is we fight discrimination and prejudice by enforcing the Chicago Human Rights Ordinance as well as the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. And today we have a great guest, Vance White, who is the Executive Director of the School of Opulence. And today he's going to speak about this organization, what they do for the community. And without further ado, Vance, thank you for hopping on today. Appreciate you joining us. Will you please tell us a little bit about yourself and where'd you grow up?
My name is Vance White. I'm the Executive Director of the School of Opulence. We're located at 1817 East 71st Street in Chicago, Illinois. A little bit about myself. I'm a kid from Chicago, southeast side. Grew up southeast, a little bit southwest. Mixed areas, though. I am the product of a family that has suffered from, substance abuse issues. I grew up as a ward of the state. I was in mental institutions, foster home, group homes, and that was my upbringing. I have some carceral experiences, and those things are really the backbone of what I use to provide what it is that we provide to the community through our organization. A large part of what I do is I just try to be who I needed the most when I needed them the most. That's who I try to be to others. So that is what drives the work that I do at the School of Opulence, and that is what, fuels our mission.
Okay. Now, can you tell our listeners, what is the School of Opulence? What is the organization's mission, and what led you to be the executive director?
School of Opulence is to improve the quality of service, quality of life, and life expectancy for LGBTQ people of color who are HIV probable, HIV positive, housing insecure, food insecure, and afflicted by other social determinants of health. Mm-hmm. The School of Opulence, the name, the School of Opulence, is one that is more than 20 years old. The original organizers of the first rendition of the School of Opulence is the iconic pioneering House of Avant-Garde in Chicago. Okay. Avant-Garde is one of the first underground ballroom houses in Chicago. And icon pioneers like Tommy Avant-Garde, Maureen Avant-Garde, Wardell Avant-Garde, they came together and they said that the ballroom community, which at the time was extremely underground culture of young, queer, people of color and others, and we got together because we were cast out from our homes. We were set aside by society. People didn't like gay people. It wasn't as acceptable as it is today. A lot of us wound up going into sex work, or a lot of us wound up going into fraud to support ourselves. Think you're 14 years old. Internally, you identify as a woman. Externally, you present as a man, and there's a conflict internally with you, right? So as you begin to understand what that is internally, and you begin to push that internal conflict towards the outside, family kicks us out. We are ostracized. No place to live, no home. So a lot of that traffic started to go kind of like up north to Boys Town. Well, it was easy to make money because of the selling of sex in Boys Town, right? Right. But also in that place, we started to meet other people who experienced life the same way we were experiencing life. Mm-hmm. And we were able to come together and form families, chosen families. And that structure is a large part of the formulation of what it is to be in ballroom culture from our perspective. Okay. Now, that leads into the School of Opulence. This demographic of people who were forming because of those life issues. The School of Opulence said that they were going to get together. The Wardell, the Tommy, the Mormon, they were going to get together and they wanted to provide services for this group of individuals. Mm-hmm. So the original goal of the School of Opulence was to provide higher education, access to health care, and at the time, HIV was really growing rampant in our community, HIV transmissions, because of all the sex work and lack of education for prevention. So those older people, they want to pour from their hearts and do something to help the community. Fast forward 20 years, the School of Opulence, because of issues internally, it became a distressed, dilapidated brand. Mm-hmm. Tommy Avant-Garde asked me a couple times, a few years ago, he said, well, can you please, bring the school back? We think you're the only one that can do it. You have the experiences, you have the life experience, the lived experience, you have the cultural experience, you understand. And I said that I would. it was not possible to bring that organization back because of, state filing issues and things like that. So we started brand new, and we kept the name in honor of the work that was done by the original founders of the idea of the School of Opulence. That's how we get here today.
Wow, that's a very powerful and compelling story. You just kind of touched upon it right now, but how does ballroom culture create pathways to healing, leadership, and survival for trans and gender-nonconforming people of color in the city of Chicago?
So ballroom culture, I want to just be very clear right off the top. Ballroom is not perfect, right? We are an underground culture of people who are imperfect, that we are seeking to establish deeper connections with community. We are seeking to reach beyond our boundaries to bring people in. We are seeking to be a more inclusive space while also maintaining our cultural significance, right? We don't want to be diluted, but we also want to be open, right? The way that Ballroom serves Chicago, it provides a space for people to creatively express themselves who present other than what the social norm is when it comes down to sexuality or when it comes down to gender and those things. When it comes down to just thinking about Ballroom, when you think about that little trans person, whether it's trans man or trans woman that is 17, 18 years old, that is being bullied in high school, bullied in grade school, that their parents are telling them, this is not how you're supposed to be. That person normally has, where it was true in our case when we were growing up, we didn't have any place to creatively express ourselves. All of that penned up expression can lead to mental health issues, right? Internally, when you pen up that expression of people, we need to express ourselves, right? When you pen that up, it creates mental health issues. It creates self-doubt, failure to recognize your self-worth. It creates other things, self-acceptance, right? And Ballroom allows for people to come in and be who they want to be and be respected and seen and heard as who they feel their authentic selves are.
Without limits.
Without limits.
Now, the School of Opulence centers on holistic health, from my understanding. And what does the holistic health mean in practice for Black, queer, and trans people in Chicago?
Holistic health really means exactly what it is. I know that's the easy way of saying it.
Sure.
But when very often, and I just want to be very transparent, the issues with systemic racism is the system. I don't believe that every person that I come in contact with that is other than me is racist. I don't believe that. But we still have to recognize and call a thing. There is systemic racism that still exists. And that systemic racism affects my community because there are barriers, and those barriers prevent us from getting equitable access to funding, higher education, housing, and those things. So holistic health is the practice of addressing the entire person, right? When you go, let's call us, School of Opulence is like the Walmart of, we want to be the Walmart of South Shore when it comes down to holistic health. So what does that mean? It means that when you come into the School of Opulence, we want to be able to address your concerns with your mental health. We want to be able to address your concerns with your physical health. We want to be able to address your housing concerns, your food concerns. We want to be able to address all those things in one place because we understand that things like travel barriers and other things, those are barriers to equitable health care, equitable housing, those things. Having to travel 45 minutes outside of your neighborhood to talk to somebody about housing, that can be a barrier for people, right? When you think about the money that it takes to travel, when you think about inclement weather sometimes, just the production of getting from one place to another, we should have equitable resources in our neighborhoods that people can access where they live. And that is what the School of Opulence means when we say holistic health. We want to be able to deliver services as a package, not just come to us for this and then travel an hour away to the north side for another thing. No, we want to be able to address the entire person because we believe that we cannot just help you to partially be healthy, right?
Right.
You can come here, you can get food here, but then when you leave, you're homeless still. That doesn't make any sense, right? So we want to be able to address The goal is to address people all together.
It's a whole 360 approach.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, you're located in the South Shore neighborhood,
Yes.
correct? Okay, and that being said, what led you to have this neighborhood be where you established the School of Opulence? One might argue that the North Side has a lot more to offer the trans community, let's say like North Halstead. So what made you establish the School of Opulence in the South Shore neighborhood?
Okay. I do want to start this off and preface this that the School of Opulence is not a trans-focused organization. We do have funding with focus on trans people, but we are an organization that focuses broadly on the LGBTQ community, especially that of color. And that is the issue that we talk about very often, right? Most of the health disparities and most of the incidences of new HIV transmissions, the higher incidences of STIs, the housing crisis, most of those things are highest in South Shore, in the Southeast Corridor. When you talk about South Shore, South Chicago, Woodline, Greater Grand Crossing, most of those issues are highest there. If those issues are highest there, why does it make sense to bring a community of people outside of their neighborhood to another neighborhood to be able to receive resources? That is the issue. Most of the services that would benefit people who look like me and live where I live the most are not where we live. So we need those resources back in our neighborhoods because they should be there to address the concerns and the needs in our neighborhoods. If you have to, and I just addressed that, if you have to drive an hour from your neighborhood to another neighborhood to receive good health care, right? Why should you have to do that? Why should it be subpar where I live? And that is what we fight for.
Especially in a city as large as Chicago.
Yes, and on a side where all the data shows what I just expressed to you, right? The CDPH surveillance reports, the HIV reports, all of that shows that the South Side is in dire need of resources that are comparable to the ones up north.
Okay, that makes sense. Since we talked about ballroom culture, do you have any upcoming events, perhaps like ballroom classes? How can Chicagoans get involved in your organization to be supportive?
So, thank you for asking that. So we just started what we call the Chicago Ballroom Alliance. And the Chicago Ballroom Alliance is a group of houses. We have different houses in Chicago, like the House of Ricardo Tisci, the House of Ebony, the House of Balenciaga, the House of Lanvin, the House of Arici. We have these houses in Chicago, and we all together form Chicago's ballroom scene. We have put together leaders, provided a space, and put together leaders at the School of Opulence and caused leaders to come together from those houses, 2 representatives from each house, to discuss how to move Chicago's ballroom forward in a united way, right? We want to be able to internally deal with our health issues, internally deal with conflict resolution, internally deal with and push to make Chicago's ballroom a safer, stronger, more self-sustaining space, right? So people could get involved by reaching out to the School of Opulence. They can go to our website, www.schoolofopulence.org, and just drop us a message. They can email us at hello@schoolofopulence.org and just say, hey, I'd like to know more about what's going on in the ballroom. We have launched a mini ball series that we are currently in the process of stabilizing the club that we're going to be at. So monthly, we're going to have a mini ball called Walk For Me Wednesdays. It's going to be like on a second Wednesday of every month. And we have done a pilot version of that already, and it was greatly successful. So we will be able to disseminate that information when we get it. But yeah, we are moving forward. There's a Facebook group that you can join on Facebook called the Chicago Ballroom Alliance. We're building that from scratch because the alliance is new. There's also an overall Facebook group called Ballroom Clips and Dips that's on Facebook that has over 20,000 participants in it, and it talks about ballroom around the country. So those are great ways to connect to what we are doing and how to connect moving forward.
Perfect. As we're slowly wrapping up, what is your most cherished story creating positive change with the School of Opulence?
It's not an easy question because there are so many moments that I've got, right? I cannot, it would be unfair to try to pull one moment out of all the amazing moments because this work does not come without consequence, right? There are times where I argue with people and fight with people because I feel like I'm fighting for what's right? And I argue and I fight with people. And there are times to where we just loving on each other and things happen. But one of the best moments that I can think of is when we opened up our location in South Shore. Okay. We have 2 locations. We have one in South Shore and a satellite in Kankakee.
Okay.
When we opened up our space in South Shore, we did a soft opening. Mm-hmm. And we got about 30 community members to come in. And it was really emotional because when I first sat down on this path, people were telling me, you can't do it. It won't happen. You won't get funded. Mm-hmm. But that's what they said. Work speaks for itself. Right. Intention, transparency, trust, vision, all of those things come together and it can overpower anything. Mm-hmm. But me even saying that the soft opening was one of the best is so crazy because we just had a School of Opulence, our first annual holiday community dinner. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. If you go to our Facebook page, School of Opulence on Facebook, or you go to our Instagram, The School of Opulence, if you go to that and you see the Christmas party that we had, how warm it was. We had a live jazz band. We had a wonderful catered layout. We had it in our space. Upscale decorations. It looked beautiful. Those moments are very warming because it continues to say we are going to provide an elevated program delivery. We're going to provide a space that is comfortable for people to come in and engage with services and products. And we are going to make sure that our community understands what we believe in and that opulence is for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. As you were describing it, I was mentally there, especially since we just recently ended the holiday season. And last question, one question I ask all of our guests. In your opinion, what can our listeners do in their everyday lives to fight hate and discrimination?
Hate and discrimination is best fought when you speak out against it and you show up. Mm-hmm. Those 2 things together are very powerful. When you speak out against it and show up, some of the people in my life have always told me that secrets grow in the dark and they die in the exposure of light. A lot of time hate is secret at first. And then you see it when it becomes bold, and that's because it has existed so long unchecked in the dark that it has grown bold enough to be visible. So I believe that secrets grow in the dark and they die in exposure of light. I've been told that all of my life. And hate usually starts in secret, right? And as hate continues to grow in the dark, unchecked, unseen, it grows and it gets stronger and stronger, and then it becomes bold enough to step into the light. And by the time that happens, it is probably stepping into the light with other people who feel the same way, right? Because it's gone so long unchecked. And then when hate has the opportunity to connect, it gets stronger and stronger. If we don't call out hate, if we're not transparent and show up, we have to beat hate back, right? It is one of those things that will grow if you don't beat it back, right? I don't think that we'll ever eliminate hate, but we have to make sure that we keep it constrained, right? We have to beat hate back. And when we think of how to do that, we want to make sure that we're reporting these things. Part of the work that we are doing with CCHR through the hate crimes unit is we're starting to create, I love the people of there, Yaritza, yes, and a few other people that they're going to kill me because I didn't say their names.
Yeah,
but
our IGR unit.
Yes, the IGR unit, and that's where we started our work with CCHR. We've invited them in. They came to the Christmas party too. We've invited them in, and we begin to say, hey, we want to be directly connected to you all because we want to create what we call hate reduction groups, right, in South Shore. And what this means is, for my community, we didn't even know, and there were things, even as we were going through this process, that I didn't know about hate crimes or incidents of hate. I don't know how to report them. The process is not friendly process to us. It is really the process deters us from reporting incidents of hate and hate crimes. I didn't even know that in order to report a hate crime, you had to report it to directly to the police department, right? We don't know where to report incidents of hate, right? Because this is not something we have been accustomed to believing that this is just part of life. If someone calls us a faggot, if someone kicks us out because we don't serve gay people, if someone assaults me because, I have on a dress and they think that I present to them as a male, that assault is a hate crime. That I refuse to serve you because you're LGBT, that's an incident of hate. We don't know how to, my community, we are not particularly aware of how to report those things appropriately. And on top of that, not only are we not aware of how to report those things, but we don't know what the result is, right? So going into these situations, a lot of people just say, hey, I'm just not going to report it because then what? I report it, then what? We have not seen real action when it comes down to reporting these things in our history. So that is a deterrent for some people, and we wanted to change that narrative. In order to make Chicago a safer place for all of us, we have to have community that are knowledgeable of these things, and there has to be a result that we can refer back to, right? There has to be something coming out of it. If I report it to you, then what happens? So we're establishing and creating the hate reduction group so that we have a place where people in the Southeast Corridor can come and report incidences of hate. They can come and also tell us about hate crimes, and we can walk them through the process of how to report hate crimes. The hate reduction groups are more geared towards other business leaders, though, in our community, to bring everybody into one space and to have these difficult conversations and do some kind of like community type of education when it comes down to dealing with different people from different cultural backgrounds. Right. And also just being honest, because we have to have these real conversations. How do we respectfully engage people who we disagree with?
Right.
Right. And that is when we address hate at that level, because that is where hate grows. I disagree with you. I dislike you. It grows from there. And then it goes all the way into hate. I disagree with you. I disagree with your lifestyle. I disagree with, and even if I think this is not something you should even be able to disagree with, how do we have that conversation? And how do we keep that in check?
Right.
Because our goal is to establish mutual respect. And that's our solution. That is one of the solutions that we're going to put forth to the problem, and say, hey, we're going to have these hate reduction groups where we engage everyone in a community so that we all have a common understanding of each other and we can all coexist respectfully in our community.
Yeah. Perfect answer. I love that analogy about hate being a secret that just kind of festers inside. It's dark, and then light being, love and destroying it. Is there anything else that you have not brought up that you want to bring up for our listeners?
Yes. At the School of Opulence, because of the work that we do, our goal is to fill in a lot of gaps. Okay. And there are a lot of gaps, right? But we can't solve everything, but we want to do what we can. We've started 2 alliances. We started the Chicago Ballroom Alliance, which I've just briefly told you about. That's it's not a public alliance. That's more of an alliance of ballroom leaders and ballroom participants to help that. So that's one thing. But that alliance is also going to be, engaging with our elected officials to be able to recognize the community and to be able to serve the needs of this community. We also have the LGBTQ Returning Citizens Reentry Alliance that we started. And on this alliance, we have representatives from Northwestern, Central Halsted, PHIMC, Public Health Institute, Metropolitan Chicago. We have different representatives on this alliance, and we have community members. And this alliance is to address the concerns of LGBTQ people who are returning from prison. LGBT people who are returning from prison, we don't have a voice in the reentry space. The reentry arena is hypermasculine, and it does not serve the LGBTQ community. We don't have a seat at the table. We don't have services that are culturally responsive to the needs of returning LGBTQ citizens. And because of that, we needed to establish an alliance so we can address these things head on. Remember, hate grows in a secret place. So we understand that the reentry arena is ran by men. A lot of times, and I'm just being, transparent, it's ran by men, and all men don't agree or are friendly with LGBT ideas. And we have to fight that. And we need space. The LGBTQ Returning Citizen Reentry Alliance is one thing that I would like to push towards the community, because that's a real thing. And if you are LGBTQ and you have lived experience with penal systems, we want you to be a part of it. We want you to come and to express the difficulties that you've had, engaging with service providers and things like that. And the last thing, our mental health and wellness program, Opulence for Everyone. Opulence for Everyone is a gender-affirming mental health and wellness program where we have it bi-weekly at the School of Opulence, and we do things where it's really dope. We use the outside areas in South Shore. We use inside. Our LCSW Alfredo Merolanda, he is really great with coming up with activities to help people address mental health concerns, and that is what we are doing. So I'm extremely excited to tell community that those things are some things that I think that they would benefit from the most if you are, you're around. You can also drop through. We open from 10 to 6. Stop by, say hi. We're excited to see you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for everything you do, and we definitely love working with your organization. And if you don't mind, do you mind repeating perhaps your social media contacts or any way that people can contact your organization?
Thank you. Thank you for that. That's really sweet. We love CCHR. We do.
We love you guys.
So you can reach us on Facebook at the School of Opulence. School of Opulence on Facebook. It is the School of Opulence on Instagram. You can reach us by our website, www.schoolofopulence.org. Yes, you can reach us at email at hello@schoolofopulence.org. So those are all ways to reach us. And we are here for community. I mean, we are a newer organization to the South Side. We've not been there for a year yet, but we have a beautiful space. It is people friendly, and we just want to continue to serve people. But we want to serve through connection, and we want to serve through, kind of like intentionality. So we want to connect with you first, explore who you are, and be able to help serve that entire person.
Perfect. And, this podcast is new, and one of the reasons why we have this podcast is to give a platform like excellent organizations like yourselves. And thank you very much for our listeners for joining in on another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast. Remember, if you or anybody you know feels that they've been a victim of discrimination here in Chicago, please do not hesitate to contact us at 312-744-4111. Again, that is 312-744-4111. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, we're on Blue Sky. And remember, until next time, think before you hate.